couple of months ago, I released this video just after the COPPA changes on YouTube were announced, and since then, I have been inundated with questions on that video almost every day. So I thought it was time we did a little update on it, especially because there are a couple of things that have changed, give you an idea of where my thoughts on COPPA lie now, and also what changes I've made to my business as a result of COPPA. I don't have a special jingle for this though, so I'm just going to do the Vlogmas one. But we'll be back to talking about grown-up things after that. And I feel like I do have to start things off by just clarifying, just for everybody, especially if you are new. And if you are new, by the way, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, like the video, all that kind of stuff. It all helps, especially in this new COPPA environment. But yeah, I should clarify for you. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert. I don't have any inside knowledge. I consider myself a reasonably intelligent man and like to think that I've got a good understanding and good grasp of what's going on, but obviously that's a good understanding and a good grasp from a layman's perspective. I'm not an expert. However, I am a full-time YouTuber. This is my primary source of income. This is my business. This is a big deal to me. So I have been taking it seriously, and I have been doing a lot to try and prepare for COPPA. That if you are a regular on the channel, you'll have noticed a lot of the changes that have happened in recent months that are kind of a direct response to all of this stuff from when it was announced. That's not to say that what I've done is the right thing to do. It's not to say that what I've done is what you should do for your business, for your channels. It could be that it's all a fuss about nothing. It could be that it's much worse than I imagine. But this is my interpretation. This is what I'm doing. So hopefully that's enough of a disclaimer to stop anybody from suing me. And that does kind of lead in to the first point, because I've been doing a little bit more research. I've been watching lots of videos on it. YouTube is absolutely full of them. There's lots of lawyers giving their interpretation. But the one I found most helpful is one that came out a couple of days ago from a guy called Creekcraft. I'm going to link to it down in the description below. He actually went and spent the day with the FTC in America and clarified a lot of these points with them directly. So I'm going to be taking a lot of the stuff that he's found out and kind of reinterpreting that from a UK perspective, because obviously this is, or is it obvious? I'm saying obviously. In case you're not aware, the FTC, the government agency behind COPPA, that is an American agency. So this isn't, although YouTube is a worldwide site and an American company, so they have to follow the laws in America. It is important to make that distinction that if you're not based in America, some of the legal implications of what's going on might not apply to you. Again, that's based on my interpretation of it. So let's get into, I've made copious notes. Let's get into what I've got written down here. And I think the important thing that I've written at the top and underlined, because this came out with a Creekcraft video and he clarified it directly with the FTC. And it was something that I'd kind of been saying to people anyway. I talked about it on stream on Twitch the other night. And it has been confirmed that the FTC, being a US government agency, they can't be suing people who are outside of the US. These $43,000 fines that have been talked about, firstly, it looks like they're probably an exaggeration anyway. That's the upper limit of where a fine could be, and it's very unlikely fines would be at that level. But those fines, they're for if you're in the US. And if you're not in the US, they can't really come after you. So from a legal point of view, from a coming up against the actual COPPA law and coming up against FTC, if you're outside of the US, like I am, I'm in the UK, then the actual threat of you might go to court, you might have to pay a $43,000 fine, whatever it might be, that doesn't really apply to us. That being said, it doesn't mean that COPPA isn't going to have an impact, because obviously, as I said before, it's having an impact on how YouTube are doing things. And for us in the UK and for the rest of the world at large, really outside of the US, the worry and the fear for us isn't from we might get sued. It's, oh no, what are YouTube going to do to try and make sure they don't get sued? Now, the big concern that the majority of people have had so far is to do with identifying whether or not your content is aimed at children, because the wording in the law that was published back in, what was it, August, September time, was very fluffy. It didn't really clarify where hard and fast lines were, and it seems that that's kind of deliberate, because they do acknowledge that there might not be any hard and fast lines and rules between what is directed at kids and what is not directed at kids, because you could have an adult playing a children's video game like Minecraft as an example, but making their content targeted at adults, and that's not targeted at kids even though it's playing a kid's video game. Or you could have an adult watching a kid's cartoon, and that's not targeted at kids despite it being a kid's video game. But equally, you could have an adult playing, I don't know, give me an example of an older age group video game. I'm struggling. Grand Theft Auto. You could have an adult playing Grand Theft Auto, but doing it in a way that appeals to kids, and that then is targeted. It's not, I don't know, they've all been video game examples because that's kind of the world I've come from, but it's not as simple as these are the rules for what is aimed at kids and these are the rules for what is aimed at kids, because it varies from channel to channel, audience to audience, whatever niche you're in. But I think the key thing that's come out of a lot of the videos that I've watched, and it's kind of been what I've been saying all along, and it seems like it does seem that that's going to be the way that it all falls when we hit the 1st of January and this all becomes law. I think deep down, every YouTube content creator knows whether or not they're making content that is targeted at children. Because certainly if you're a reasonable adult and you're looking at it, you're taking off your glasses that say, you know, your content creator glasses, trying to look at it impartially without any bias, you can look at your content and say, this is made for kids or this is not made for kids. I can look at my gaming content that I make on my other channel and absolutely wholeheartedly say that content is not made for kids. There are no videos on that channel that are made for kids. But I did buy a sticker album this week, because back when the World Cup was on a couple of years ago, I did some sticker openings. They got a lot of views. I bought this sticker album because I thought, oh, that'd be good. People like sticker openings. I'll do that. But then I thought, okay, I know my gaming content is definitely not aimed at kids, but can I honestly, hand on heart, say that me opening football stickers and sticking them in a book is not aimed at children? And I couldn't, because I'm a reasonable adult. And I know that the reason my last sticker opening videos a couple of years ago got a lot of views is because a lot of kids watch those videos. That is a video that is targeted at children. That's not to say there aren't adults who would enjoy it too. Obviously, I'm 37 years old. I enjoy a sticker. But the majority of the audience on that video is going to be children. It's a video that is targeting children, but adults might enjoy. And me, as the creator, I can make that distinction. Coming over here to the vlog channel, I know that my daily vlogs, by and large, not aimed at children. There have been times in the past where we've done certain things on the channel that were aimed at getting more younger viewers in, because it's sometimes an easier audience to go and capture. Whenever I've tried to jump on any kind of trend, we did a fidget spinner video a few years ago when that was a thing. Now, fidget spinner videos were obviously aimed at kids because it was a kids trend. If you did a bottle flip video, it's aimed at kids. It's a kids trend. But if I do a video where me and my family are going to a theme park, I would argue that's not kids targeted content, because I'm making those videos for the adults. I'm making those videos for other parents to show them what we do as a family. So I'm talking as an adult in the videos. I'm not kidifying it. I'm not talking in a high-pitched voice. I'm not flashing bright colours everywhere. I'm talking as an adult to other adults. And if kids enjoy that content too, that's fine. And I know some kids do, but I would suggest that is clearly targeting adults. And I think we can all make that distinction. We know who we're targeting, and that has been YouTube's line on it since the start. They're famous, you know your audience better than anyone. And I think they are, in the first instance, relying on people being honest, because you do know your audience better than anyone. If you're making content for children, you know you are, and this is going to affect you. If you're not making content for children, then you also know, and you hope that you're not going to get caught up in this. But one of the things that came out of that Creekcraft video, again, was that YouTube analytics are something that is going to be considered when it comes to reviewing whether a piece of content is targeted at children. So What that means is where it tells you what the age groups are on YouTube, and we all know those age groups aren't necessarily to be trusted because kids will watch on their parents' accounts or they'll lie about their age. But if you've got a video that quite clearly is trending towards the older end of the age spectrum, then that could be enough that could be enough evidence to show that your content wasn't targeted at kids in the first place. And that's going to be for like your borderline cases. If you're making that video about, I don't know, a cartoon, Rick and Morty. I know it's not a kid's cartoon, but cartoons were put on the thing and everyone panicked. So if you're making a review of a Rick and Morty episode, but you can show in your YouTube analytics that the majority of your viewers were aged 18 to 24, then that's your way of saying, well, look, it's not kids content. If the majority of your audience were in that youngest age group, which I think is 13 to 17, then you probably are targeting kids with your content there, aren't you? And that is going to be taken into account. So have a look at your analytics, get an idea of what sort of age your audience is. I know on both of my channels, our audience is old. Hello, old people. Certainly on my gaming channel, my audience, the average age is over 25. On this channel, it does go a little bit younger because of the nature of some of the content that we've made. But even then, our average age for a viewer on this channel is over 18. So as I mentioned before, if you're outside of the US, and I know this isn't helpful if you're in the US, but to be honest, if you're in the US, there's loads of content you could watch on this. There is less content talking to people outside of the US, which is why I'm trying to cover that off. But if you are outside the US, we've already said how the FTC and the COPPA legislation itself isn't really the problem for you. The problem is YouTube's response, because we know YouTube can be very heavy-handed, they can overreact, and people can get caught up in the mess. We saw it with the adpocalypse, we've seen it with various other bits of nonsense over recent years, and it is possible that you could be incorrectly identified by the algorithm as having content made for kids and effectively have your videos demonetized as a result of it. And that's the fear that we've got. Now, my understanding is there will be an appeals process like that, similar to the current demonetization system, and they will be looked at by reasonable adults who can then make that judgment call about who your content is aimed at. And that's where things like your analytics come into account and the obvious intention behind your video. If your video is obviously intended to be for children and you're saying, well, it's not because I've got some viewers who are adults, well, sorry, you're caught up in this. But if it's obviously not targeting children, then I would like to think that upon review, you would then be remonetized and you'd get your normal channel status back. And I know a lot of people don't have a lot of trust in that system, but to be honest, the demonetization system for us, and it has been a nightmare for us. So like 2 years ago, every video I uploaded on this channel was demonetized instantly by the algorithm, and then we'd appeal them. And 95% of the time, we'd win those appeals and get the monetization back. And the only ones that didn't were the ones where it was like, yeah, okay, I'll accept that one's perhaps not advertiser friendly. Like we had a video titled, "Is This Child Abuse?" because people had accused us of, oh, your family vloggers, that's child abuse. So I had the words child abuse on the thumbnail, child abuse in the title, and that one was demonetized. We appealed it. They upheld the demonetization. And I actually spoke to someone at YouTube about this when I was down there last year. And they said, yeah, well, what do you expect? You've got child abuse on the thumbnail and the title. We don't even need to watch that video to know that that's not advertiser friendly, because what advertiser wants to advertise on a video about child abuse? And that's fair enough. I understand that. And they do see, certainly with the normal demonetization stuff, they do seem to apply common sense to it. And I kind of agree with every decision they've made about monetization on my videos. The problem with it is sometimes it takes a while. And obviously while you're demonetized and not having adverts display on your videos, that's usually when you would get most of your views. So when a video is first uploaded, you'll perhaps get 80% of the views in the first day or two of that video being out. And then for the rest of the life of that video, maybe the next 20% of the views come. Obviously, it's a little bit different for some channels who rely more on making searchable content. But for a channel like mine, where My content is very much targeted at my own subscribers rather than being evergreen content that people are going to search for years. I'm making content for the people who watch every day. They come and watch it every day. We get a huge spike at 5 o'clock every day when our videos come out. And the problem we used to have with this demonetization thing is we'd upload a video, it would get demonetized. Then most of our views would happen when there's no adverts running. And then they'd say, actually, no, this video's fine. They'd turn monetization back on. But at that point, we got hardly any more views. So although we were morally right and the majority of our videos were classed as monetized, we weren't actually making very much money because the window of making money had been closed on us. And I think that's a big fear if that's how this system is going to work. And it took a long time for the algorithm to learn that we were okay. This went on for probably 6 months. And then it did finally get to the point where we never get flagged for demonetization anymore, because I think whether it's the algorithm or whether it's someone in YouTube manually overriding it and just saying, this channel is fine, you're all right. And that's the bit we don't know. And we just have to kind of prepare ourselves for the fact that we might have a rough couple of months while the algorithm learns us. But if we are hand on heart making content for adults, then we'll be fine long term. I think that's where I just want to sort of wrap things up and summarize. I think the big message that I've had, and it's certainly the changes that I've made, it's all been around common sense. You'll have seen that I've changed the channel name. It used to be the Chapman Family. It's now Kevin Chapman. I wanted to disassociate from family vloggers. I've stopped daily vlogging and stopped family vlogging because I didn't want to be caught up in the family vlogger thing, because ultimately I think, again, hand on heart, family vlogging is kind of aimed at kids. If you're a big family vlogger and you looked at your analytics, I imagine the majority of your viewers are children. So you're aiming content at kids. So I wanted to distance myself from that kind of content. And I think by making more videos like this, which young people will find boring, I've kind of, I mean, we've had the discussion with Anna about the motivation behind doing it. I've kind of deliberately dropped in more and more boring videos over the last 6 weeks or so, to try and scare the really young viewers away. That if you're 14 years old and watching this, don't go anywhere. It's fine. You're allowed to watch. But I don't want 70% of my audience to be young kids. So I'm making videos that they're not going to like in the hope that they stop watching. And that's a business decision we've made to try and protect this channel long term. Because, like I said, the audience on this channel did skew a little bit younger than the other one. I don't think young enough for it to be a big deal, but it was enough for me to think, you know what, let's really draw a line in the sand and make it clear this is a channel for adults. So that's what I've done, and I think that has been noticeable in the views. If you have a look at the views of our recent videos, they are a lot lower than what we were getting 3 or 4 months ago. And if I look at the analytics, if I go into the back end of that, I can see that it's in that one age group. We've basically scared off 70% of our under 17s, which again is going to encompass people younger than the age of 13 as well, because of lying about their age and that kind of thing. So I think in our older age groups, we've managed to maintain the majority of our audience, and whilst stripping away some of the younger ones who could potentially cause problems for us with that analytics thing. And that was something I tried to get out ahead of, and I think I've done quite a good job of. It does mean that the channel itself is getting far fewer views and making less money than it was before, but I think it's something we can recover from and end up probably building a stronger channel off the back of it, because it'll be more targeted and more true to me as a creator, rather than it trying to be, well, family vlogging is a trend, let's jump on that trend because we'll get lots of views. We did, it worked, but I'm more inclined now to just be a little bit more authentic to me. And I don't watch family vlogging, I don't watch kids channels, so I'm going to make the sort of content that I watch, and this is the kind of content that I watch. There'll be more of that in the new year. Let's get back to my summary. So my summary is just use common sense. You know, take your bias out of it, take the fact that you're the creator out of it, apply some common sense. If an unbiased third party reasonable adult watched this video, would they think it was aimed at kids? And common sense will usually prevail in that kind of situation. Make sure you are fully aware of who's watching your videos. Check your analytics. If you've got a very young audience, maybe decide to declare that you're targeting children, or shift up your content a little bit to maybe adjust that audience. And with that in mind, make sure you actually do have a target audience. Don't just throw content out there and just be happy with whoever watches it. Make content specifically for a target audience. Target older viewers. Make content that you know they'll like. Look back through your analytics. Have a look at which of your videos have been more popular with your older viewers, and make more of that kind of content, would be my suggestion. Or, as I said last time, if you are making kids content and you want to carry on making kids content, now is the time. Well, actually 2 months ago was the time, but now really is the time. You've got like 2 weeks left to start exploring things like Patreon and maybe membership websites, other sources of income, because if you are making kids content, you will not be monetizing on YouTube come January the 1st. I think that is super clear. And the bottom line is we all just need to keep our fingers crossed and hope that the algorithm doesn't overreact. If the algorithm behaves the way the FTC seem to want it to behave, then the majority of us who aren't making kids content should be fine. It's if we get that overreaction that it's going to be a huge problem. So let's hope they don't overreact this time. That's a big hope. Hopefully that has helped some of you out, though. Maybe helped with a few of the fears and the worries that you might have. If you do want to find out more, I would strongly recommend just having a look around YouTube for some of the other videos that are out there. Like I said, the ones by Creekcraft are very good, but there are a number of videos out there that you could go and check out and get more of the sort of technical legal information. That's not really my area of expertise. I made this video to give you my interpretation and let you know what I was doing, and I'm still pretty confident that we're not going to get caught up in it. Cue a video on the 2nd of January. The sky is falling! The sky is falling! But I hope that's not going to happen. If you have got something from this video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for us. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this, plus some of the other stuff too. We're not going full-time boring. And thank you very much for watching.